Formula One K9s is the best. No debate. Built for pressure, we don't break. Every test we dominate. Engineered not by
Welcome
mistake.
to NWA Connie Corso's podcast, where we talk all things dog.
Every move is verified. You can look but can't replicate. Formula One K9s is the best.
Formula One K9s, we don't guess. Every line built to impress. High performance, nothing less. Every dog pass, every task when it's time.
And they make me the underdog. I'm gonna show them all their roles because I'm the champion. I'm the real champion. There'll never be one like me.
Formula One K9s is the best.
Say the name, they know the set. High performance, no regret. Every trait precise and set. We don't miss, we don't forget. Built to win, built to last. Every run, we moving fast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show.
Say the name, they know the set.
Y'all know what it is.
Every trait precise and set.
Ain't no strangers in here. We got a lot of families in here tonight. We got the American Bulldog family in here. We got the Formula One family in here. We got the NWA family in here. We got the Brazilian Bull family in here and everybody in between. So, to our distinguished guests, they'll be on. Matter of fact, the guest tonight, Coach, this is his song right here. I said, man, I gotta play it on the intro, brother. Very hot song, especially if you're in the music. To a guy that pretty much helped build my channel, a living legend in the American Bulldog, Vito Alu is in the house, and we welcome everybody, friends, family, and enemies. We know y'all here. You haters, take a front seat. Make sure you behave yourselves, because if somebody screams, "Get your hand out of my pocket," I'm gonna come off the pole, y'all. And we covering the walls too tonight, baby. So yeah. So Vito, what's happening, brother?
Hey, doing great.
All right. Coach, what's happening? Can you hear me, Coach?
Hey, I can't hear. I can't hear for some reason.
Hey, I'm gonna kick you out and let you come back in. I'm gonna kick him out. He'll come back in. Vito, what's good? How you doing, sir?
Just living the paradise.
Me too. Glad to have you back. This show here was actually your idea. You've been watching Coach. You said, "Hey, Joe, I want to have a conversation with him." I remember being in his shoes. You know what I mean? Yeah. So let's see here.
I can hear you now.
Okay, you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So, all right. Well, like I said, Vito's been on this show many times. Coach been on here a few times. Coach been a really big supporter of mine, and sometimes advisor.
Yeah.
He been online and he know how to deal with this stuff. And sometimes I don't know. One time he saved me from. Look, don't you do it. And I appreciate that, because now I understand. But anyway, welcome both of you guys to the show. Let's do it, everybody. So, Vito, what's good?
Oh man, I asked you a while back. We ought to have that guy on, and I think the first time I saw, I think you posted on Facebook a couple years ago. AK-47.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And I remember asking him, like, "Hey, what is that dog's got some game dog in him or something?" Because he don't have no XL look, you know.
Facts, Vito.
I know. I remember you told me, but I can't remember. I remember it's like he's got XL, but he must have some kind of game dog in him.
So, so AK has so there's two dogs that make up his genetic makeup. It's Crack Kennel. I don't know if you ever heard of. Have you ever heard of Crack Kennel?
No, I can't think. Is he an XL breeder?
Well, yeah, he's like a Pitbull type, and then I guess XL bully type breeder. But he's a Pitbull breeder. It's Crack Kennel. So long story short, there's a dog named Gunner, which you'll probably be able to find on there, Joe. There's a dog named Gunner, Prince Gunner, and he's a red dog, like all red, and his dad is King Murdoch. So that's a real, like, if you familiar with the Camelot dogs, it's similar to like the Camelot dogs, but really, really drivey, super duper drivey. There you go. There you go. That's that's his mom and his dad, right? I mean, AK's mom and dad right there. You see the red dog, Vito?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's his dad, and that's his mom, right? And so his mom comes from Unleashed Kennels, and they specialize in what they call XL pit bulls. So the XL pit bull phenotype, but with the drive, and then you got that red dog, which is like a Camelot dog, but it's not a Camelot dog. So I will never disrespect Greg. It's a crack kennel dog, which is Gunner, which is crazy drive. So of course we already know the power of hybrid vigor, right? We know the power of hybrid vigor.
Mm-hmm.
So then you take them two dogs, not related, okay? And the reason why I was attracted to that breeding was because I wanted to add more size to my pit bull lines. I knew I wasn't going to get it from, let's say, the traditional game dog pedigree, genetics. I knew I was going to get the height that I wanted. So when I seen Gunner, which is the red dog, I was like, yo, that red dog reminds me of some game pit bull, but on steroids. Real drivey, real, muscular, that's like my type of dog, right? And then I saw the mother, which is that black dog Spade. I'm like, ooh, that's where I'm gonna get the leg. So I'm gonna get the drive from the father, right? And I'm gonna get the leg from the mother. And so boom, I locked in on that Vito, and I got freaking AK, which is a freak of nature. Like you said, he looked like a game dog, but he's 26 inches tall, man. 112 pounds.
Yeah, he reminds me a little bit of, like, my favorite game dogs are, the Mayday dogs, Tant, Yellow Man, all that stuff, Barracuda, that kind of stuff. Real fast lane dogs. They're not quite that big, but they're pretty big for that kind of dog.
And
but
see what
Vito, just the muscle.
Vito, what I did with him, right? Because over time I was learning, when you get your dogs, you learn them, right? I learned my dogs. So what I did was I observed him and I found out what drove him, what was his drive mechanism. And he likes to bite shit, right? So when I figured that out about him, right, I'm like, okay, he likes to bite stuff. And so I do this thing with my dogs. I have like a lot of dogs. I'm sure you could relate to that. So I will put my puppies in what I would call a pack experimental pack, where I wanted them to kind of understand if they get into a confrontation with each other, they understand that, you know what, we're family. We can scuffle, but not to the point of no return, right? I do that with my yard on purpose, because I don't want no yard accidents where I got to bury dogs because they get into a fight. So with AK, right, because he had this bite fetish, okay, likes to bite shit. I had another dog, I had my band dog AR-15. I had them, they're the same age, okay? So I had them raised together. So they used to do all the shit together, play together as they grew up. So because AK had this bite fetish, right, he was so focused on just biting shit, he would just ignore, like, his prey drive would want to, like, attack. He would ignore it because, if I give him a bone, he loves that bone. If I get him with the spring pole, he just want to bite the spring pole. He ain't worried about that shit. One day, it took this one day for me to see that when the hawks came up on AK, he had his hawks come up on his back when AR-15 was trying to mount him. He was trying to mount him, trying to dominate him. So once I saw that, I was like, no. I don't want to turn that on. I don't want to turn that on, because this dog right here, if this dog turned on his prey drive to where he want to attack animals, I can't control. I mean, the dog is so intense, Vito, and so powerful. Like, I knew ahead of time, like, I got to make sure I don't ignite that prey drive where he can feel like he can go ahead and combat with other dogs. So as long as I got his pacifier, which is a bone, he good. You know what I'm saying? But that dog right there, AK, is really with all the smoke. He with all of it, Vito. But I figured out how to trigger and channel his drive. As long as I give him his pacifier, he's cool.
Yeah, bulldogs, they love to wrestle and bite.
Yeah.
I've had tons and tons of stuff. That I got into these Brazilian dogs, and the Brazilian dogs, the research I've done, they go back to variations of their Camelot blood. Like the guy out in Vegas, Jimmy, has gargoyle. They're red XL pit bulls. And then there's Red Lion, Viet Shark. I think they're based off of like Camelot's Duke and Camelot's Chief.
Right.
And I've seen videos of that Kenny guy saying that, Duke and Chief, you know, they're scatterbred. I don't know what they were. They were 110-pound dogs. And he's like, he breeds a old family red nose, which whatever that means. But so I know there's no 105-pound, old family red nose game dogs, you know.
Correct.
If there is, it would be like, you know, a very odd thing, and it would never produce it. So there's got to be something else in there. And I know a lot of the XL dogs. I'm not an expert on them, but I remember when the Whopper Chevy dogs came up. That's when I kind of first started getting into American Bulldogs. So I knew all the rumors because there was a cross that made it into the American Bulldog. There was a guy in Oklahoma called John Blackwell, and he got into American Bulldogs. And before he got into American Bulldogs, he had Dog de Bordeaux's. So he crossed a Johnson dog to a Dog de Bordeaux female, and that's what made that dog Whopper. Mm-hmm. And he gave him to this dude, Eddie Eddington, who was a big weight pull, like he was the weight pull guru back in the day. And he just wanted bigger dogs to pull, you know, in the higher classes. So he crossed that with his pits, and then he died, and so a lot of other people took over. And then there was Dagger, Camelot. There was a whole bunch of those red pit bulls that were oversized, 75 to 120-pound dogs. But I don't know what they are. I don't know if they had a shot of Dog de Bordeaux, American Bulldog, Pressa, you know.
Well, Vito, let's be real with ourselves who really do this type of shit, right? We know that they throw the secret sauce in there. I call it the secret sauce, Vito. And the reason why I call it the secret sauce is because if you are really trying to increase something that you lack in your program, you can't go to the same well that doesn't have the genetics that's going to increase whatever you're trying to increase in your line. So like you said, you're thinking about the old family red. What old family red dogs were 100+ pounds. Now, these guys are not going to tell you their secret sauce. And I respect that, Vito. I respect it. But you can't lie to me, a person that really does this, that do it. You can't lie to me. Because I know that I've done many breedings over the years, and I've used the same, let's say, type of dogs and thinking I'm going to just get hybrid vigor and get bigger, but it doesn't work that way. I got to add a secret sauce. So with them Camelot dogs, it's a secret sauce. I'm going to give you a little story about Kenny from Camelot. So when I first tapped into Gunner, that red dog, okay, which is AK's daddy, Gunner, which is owned by Lions Lair out there in the UK. Kenny Sorrells, I think that's his last name, but Kenny, you know, one of the founders of Camelot, right? He was over there in the comments hating on Gunner because Gunner had the wave, and he was promoting his dog Duke. That was his dog that he's promoting at that time, Duke. But Gunner had the wave, if you understand what I mean. He had the masses like loving him, right? So when I got AK, Kenny followed me, right? He followed me, and then we were cool, right? He was encouraging me, all that type of stuff. But when he saw that I was a person that was I was my own energy. Maybe he thought he was following me so he can influence me to buy one of his Camelot dogs. I don't know. You know how these dog guys are, right? So long story short, I'm pushing my wave, but I'm pushing the truth. Okay? He pushing his wave, which is, hey, I'm Camelot. I'm the best. I'm Camelot. Ain't no red dog better than Camelot. Blah, 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 blah. So with Kenny, this is my perception, okay? When I wasn't in tune with what he was pushing on me, then him and I became at odds for whatever reason, okay? For whatever reason. We was cool, then we had odds or whatever. Okay, whatever it is, what it is. Then he tried to tell me something because he seen I had a whole bunch of different dogs that I was cooking. He tried to tell me, oh, you need to scrap your whole yard. I'm like, to me, I'm thinking to myself, like, who the fuck is you? I didn't ask you to tell me to scrap nothing. You follow me because you thought you was going to influence me because, maybe you influence people who ain't like you. But I know how to make dogs, and I don't lie to do it. So these dudes be lying And for a person like me, Vito and Chat, Joe, I know how to make dogs. I'm not game goofy with anything when it comes to dogs. So when you talk about a dog that used to be 35 pounds, 45 pounds, and you know how they do a lot of, with game dogs, do a lot of inbreeding, a lot of line breeding. You're not going to get no 112 pounds off of fucking line breeding families of dogs.
Yeah.
That's stupid. That's dumb to a person like me who was an engineer, Vito. You know what I mean? So I know I'm going to throw a secret sauce, just like I got AK. I knew that if I wanted my line of pit bulls to be bigger, I'm not going to them game dogs and getting bigger pit bulls. I'm going to Simon, who got my hybrid vigor formula, and I'm going to get AK. So, you know, tied into what you were saying about the red dogs and, you know, them being 112 pounds, 115 pounds, whatever. We know there's secret sauce, Vito. We know it.
Something big's in there. It's
Yeah,
got to
and
be in
it's
there more
okay.
than once. If you're making like an American Bullies, it's kind of, I'm not new to them, but I had a pocket years ago, razor's edge pocket dog. And of course they say they didn't put any English Bulldog. It's all, but the dog I had was a 3/8 of an inch undershot, and he had a tail that looked like a lightning bolt, that a piece of spaghetti. It was half the length. So that don't come from UKC show dogs. That comes from an English Bulldog or an oldie or something.
Yes.
And you know, and that's my attraction that I like from you. You're coming at it from a different angle, or you're just talking the way it is. Like a lot of the stuff you're doing. I mean, I don't know. You've even said you want the hybrid vigor. You go 1 or 2 generations off of him, and then you don't care. You're not trying to create a line or a
I
breed.
do 3 generations. So hear me out on this one. So I believe in the laws of threes. Three is the ultimate root number for me. Okay, 3, 6, 9, 12.
Holy Trinity.
Yeah. Hey,
That's,
Joe know what I be saying. Joe know what I be pushing that way.
Yeah, I know.
So Vito, you understand, right? So I believe in the laws of threes, right? That's just me. So because I tell my brothers all the time, I want freaks of natures. God, please give me. And I know that's so hard to get, but I'll take podium dogs, which is 1, 2, 3 level top tier dogs. The only way I can get that is with hybrid vigor. And then hopefully if you see what you want out of that hybrid vigor, then we tighten it up to kind of lock it in. But after the third, I don't want to water it down. I don't want to bottleneck my genetics, Vito. I don't want to. And one thing that I tell and I teach that I love variance. See, because I breed performance animals. I don't care about, even though I do like a look, I'm gonna keep it real. I do like a good looking dog. I do. However, performance trumps everything for me. I'm Formula One canines. If that dog is small, but I want him to be big, but he's superior in performance, I like that dog. Okay? Because you are the performance level. You know, just like they have weight classes in boxing and fighting, and you got these great fighters who are 150 pounds, and you got the heavyweights. So once I've understood that for myself, right, I take hybrid vigor first and foremost, because I need that explosion in my genetic pool. I need that. And because I respect my genetics, I like to see variance. I don't want to see the litter look the same. I want to see what God blesses me with, because I put top tier genetics together and boom, maybe I'll get a secretariat. You know what I mean? So I do believe in the 1, 2, and 3. You know what I mean? After that, I'm moving on. You know, I'm moving on. I'm going to the next one. You know what I mean? I'm never going to water down my genetics. I'm never going to bottleneck my shit. Because to me, as an engineer, I consider myself, it's boring to me, Vito. If I'm making the same dog over and over and I'm using the same formula, I'm bored. I'm not progressing. I'm like the cars. I'm like your watch. I'm like your phone. I'm like life. Every breeding I do a dog, Vito, I need to be better. I don't want the same shit. Me. But most people, they breed like that because, you know, hey, that's just what they might have been taught. Maybe that's a look that they like or whatever. But if you're an artist, what I consider myself, Vito, I'm not a breeder. I'm an artist. So if you're an artist, I want to see the fruits of my art. I want God to wow me. Like, wow, I didn't know I was going to get this. You know what I mean?
I
So
used
that's
to tell some friends of mine, I used to say, I'm a genetic architect.
there we go. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I started out in American Bulldogs, and of course, I came from like Dobermans. Now, I wasn't really a working dog guy, but the breeds that I liked were pretty athletic, pretty, Dobermans broke my heart. I just never wanted nothing to do with them ever again. But I got into them, and I just wanted a big, rough and tumble, freaky looking monster dog. But real quick, I realized, man, these fucking dogs, they overheat and die. They're not what they're, there's a whole soliloquy, a whole, history of what they're supposed to be. And the the bully type dogs are not like that. And even the standard dogs weren't really like that. They kind of got, people were kind of selecting them for the way you'd select a game dog. And really an American Bulldog, it's even though the fully functional ones, they're different. They're supposed to be different. They're supposed to be a catch dog. And sometimes a Pitbull temperament, a game dog's temperament, if he gets in front of a hog and wants to try to kill it or rebite and get into a fight with it, that's no good. That's not going to do the hunter any good. You want a dog that runs in, grabs, holds tight, and becomes a boat anchor, pulls back, stays to the side. He's not trying to rebite and fight. So there was a whole, in American Bulldogs, the half that's the standard type, there was a lot of guys that they did some good work. I mean, they produced some good dogs, but they kind of had the mindset of a game dog. They tested them against each other, which that's another thing. You don't really want a catch dog that is too dog aggressive, because you can't find a pig in most of the United States without a bay dog. So you need several bay dogs. Mm-hmm. And if your Bulldog's grabbing bay dogs, the bay dogs, without bay dog, you don't find the pig. So they're more valuable to a hunter than a catch dog, really.
Hey, Brother Vito, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So you know anything about buff dogs? What do you know about buff dogs? Yeah. Tell me your history with buff dogs.
I sold dogs to the one cousin. They're all like cousins. They're all Mormons. They all bought American Bulldogs. And the one guy I talked to, I think the guy you got your dog from, I didn't talk to him. I think he was an older cousin. But the other two younger guys. I talked to the guy that did the Boxer Neo dog. I can't remember his name. I can't remember shit from 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's Joe.
Joe, was it Joe or
Joe Peacemaker? Joe Peacemaker did the Boxer, Neapolitan Mastiff, and American Bulldog cross to create that dog Red Bull.
Yeah, Red Bull was a weird looking dog. Like I wouldn't have looked at him and said that's a Neo.
Yeah.
He was tight. He kind of had muscle, and so they had those. They bought this dog called Tyson from a guy I used to be friends with here, Jeff Daly. And it was like, I think it was right around the time I was getting divorced. And this guy used to live 20 minutes from my house, and I used to take care of his dogs if he would go on camping trips. But at that period of time, I was too busy. I was moving out to the country. I was getting divorced. And anyway, long story short, I owed him a breeding. And, at that time, I bred these oldies. I made my own alternative bulldogs called Alu Bulls. And they were Staffy Bull, English Bulldog, and my American Bulldogs. Well, anyway, I did a breeding with an English Bulldog and one of my Americans and produced this female. I could never get her pregnant. I mean, I AI'd her. I think she was going on like 4 years old. And he owed me a breeding, and he said, well, just bring her over and put her to one of my dogs. So, because I didn't want to breed her to my dogs because they're all related. So I went over and just did it just to see if she could get pregnant, and she had this litter, and turned out to be real consistent. And it turned out they're all huge. Like I had some dogs in her 115 pounds. This is from a 62-pound show English Bulldog.
Wow.
And they were huge. I had, so I gave my brother this dog, Shemp, And he was the smallest because I was trying to produce 50, 60-pound dogs. I wasn't trying to produce a big dog. And that's why I used a little staffy bull. And so anyway, my brother gets this dog, Shemp. And I was telling Jeff, I'm like, you got to see this dog. Like except his eyes were round. They were an almond shape. And his muzzle was about a half inch shorter than it should have been. Other than that, he looked like an 85-pound perfect American Bulldog. I mean, wow. Perfect, except his muzzle was a little too short and his eyes were kind of round. Muscled, hump neck, fat ass, all this stuff. So he came by my house when I had him at my house, breeding him to one of my Alu Bulls, and he was freaked. He was like, wow, that dog is awesome. I want to breed to him. I'm like, you want to breed to him? You know, he's an oldie. He didn't have much English. He probably was 3/8 English Bulldog once you add in what Johnson put in. And so I owed him a breeding. I let him do the breeding. And I never paid that close attention to the puppies because like I said, I was going through divorce. I wasn't going out there as much. But he told me, which he told me this over and over again, because he would breed to my dog and then hang papers on it. There was something else. And every time he'd say, I sold all those pups. They look like shit. So he kind of fucked up and lied to me. We were at lunch a couple years later, and I realized, wait a minute, you said all those dogs sucked. And he had told me some evil shit that he did to some guy in Texas. He owed him a puppy, and he said, yeah, I sent him one of them dogs. Like, oh my God. You sent him a dog with, what did you tell him? He said, no, I just said it was out of this dog. So then I started thinking because I'm not used to, I had no idea, I didn't have any clue what he was doing. Anyway, turns out I don't have genetic proof, but I'm almost positive that if he sold the dog to this guy in California that became really, really well-known dog at American Bulldog. As a matter of fact, he's like one of the most used studs, or he produced studs that were some of the most used studs out there. This dog called King Caleb. So he's got a little extra English Bulldog. Well, that dog's brother is that dog Tyson. And wow. I remember that dog Tyson was the dog, I think, that really made them, people were wanting puppies off of him. He was a little wider. I think he was brindle. And see, my dog, Shemp, was brindle. He was that exact dark, deep, kind of mahogany brindle. I mean, he was mainly white, but the brindle that he had was dark. So, and there was a guy in California that had gotten King Caleb, Jose Lopez. He owned Man Stopper's Kennels. He died. But he was telling me, he said, I've seen all these daily dogs. I've never had one like this. He said, this sucker, he's not real big, but he doesn't back down from shit. And when he was describing it, and it went off in my head. I'm like, that is my bitch, Reba. I had this little female, Reba. She was mainly all Johnson. And that's how she was. She was only 75 pounds. But I'm telling you, it doesn't matter if an elephant came and tried to fuck with her. She had zero back down. And physically, she wasn't a dog that could, probably do anything, but not in her brain. In her brain, she was like, I'm Reba. You're going to die today. I can take care of myself. And that was exactly what it was describing. So it's fucked up how the breeds, the way, that's one of the things I like about you is you're not bullshitting, you're not lying, and you're not trying to create something it's not. You're just telling people what you're doing. And that's
rare in this dog game, huh?
Yeah. Rare. You pay a big price because I hate to say it. I mean, I was as dumb as anybody else, but there's just so many people out there. They have this mindset that dog breeds aren't breeds. They're a species that came here from another planet, and there's no relation. They're pure. So
pure. Don't say that. Don't say that word pure, Vito. Come on now.
Yeah. Well, that's why I started telling people. I said, "Yeah, your dog's pure. Your dog's pure shit." You know, if you're
Hey, but Vito, let me add in on that. I think the misconceptions of what a purebred dog is, like they quantify like some kind of imaginary blood count, which a purebred dog ain't nothing but just another type of dog that's bred for that's with isolation techniques. You know what I'm saying? It's still a dog. You know what I'm saying? I don't think some people say purebred dogs are unhealthier. I don't find that true unless people don't know what they're doing, if they quantifying bullshit and they're not cleaning it up. But I think, like you say, I think people kind of put more weight in on what a dog really is. A purebred dog is, you got land race dogs, you got all kind of dogs, you got band dogs, you got all kind of dogs. It's just a dog, a type of dog to me.
Yeah, but Joe, the purist people, they credit their purity on it just being a specific breed and that's it. So if it's line bred for generations, the same blood, then that's pure. But over time, if you breed like that, your dog is gonna diminish. Your genetics are gonna be fucked. You know what I mean? Now, depending on how broad your spectrum or your brush is genetically with all the people who were involved with starting that breed, then if you guys had that broad umbrella approach in the beginning, then yeah, you can line breed and breed within the same breed type if you guys did it right. But most people aren't doing it right.
But let me ask you this, Coach. Let me push back a little bit on that because you have breeds like the Rottweiler. It seems to be doing fine. You got breeds with a Doberman. I'm gonna ask y'all about the Doberman. Let's stop there about the Doberman right here. Let's because I'm talking to two engineer minds, right? So I was talking to Armin Winkler, and he said something when I was talking to him about the Doberman. He said the biggest mistake they did with the Doberman was adding in the Greyhound. It made the dog spooky.
No.
Okay.
I don't think there's that much Greyhound in them, but
okay.
The problem with them is the guy that started it wanted a hardcore freaking dog, and he had a hardcore dog. They were rough looking. They don't look like they do now. Well, what happened was they became fucking popular as hell, and they took off, and there wasn't much of a gene pool. And then you had in the 60s, late 60s, 70s, you had a huge explosion with these AKC show dog people. I grew up in the 70s, and I used to beg my older brother and my dad to drop me off at these Doberman specialty shows. I'm like 13 years old walking around looking at all these dogs. And I'm going to tell you, those people were nuts. Like, they're wealthier people, or sometimes they'd have 10 people that would own one dog. And that dog would spend its life in an 18-wheeler driving across the United States to accumulate as many working points, working dog breed points. And those women and those men thought they were Arabian horses. And they bred all the grit out of them, and they bred them to have a little chicken neck. In the 70s, when I was a kid, there were some Dobermans that were like 85 pounds and had a head like a mailbox. They were athletic and stuff, but they had a little substance to them. But Greyhound, I wouldn't think you'd take a Greyhound, a track dog, and make a Schutzen dog out of it. But as far as being timid and things like that, they're not really timid. They're aggressive freaking dogs. They have muzzles on them because they fight. They'll fight the shit out of each other.
Right.
And they may not be, they're not bred to be a fighting dog, but actually there's a story that I read, and matter of fact, I told one of these guys this story, and it turned into a big thing. And next thing you know, I'm breeding Greyhounds and game bred pit bulls. That's why my dogs look the way they do and all this shit. But anyway, you can look it up. Even Greyhound people don't know the history that much because I don't think they publicize it much. But I think it was in the 1400s or 1500s, there was a noble. Like back then, in England, you could not own a greyhound, a sight hound of any kind, unless you were nobility. If you were a common dude, they wouldn't let you have. Matter of fact, that's why they have the breed called the lurcher. It's because all throughout Europe, they had these people called, like, they were like gypsies, and they were in caravans. And so what they did is they took whippets and greyhounds and bred them to collies, and they trained these freaking dogs to run onto the master baron or whatever of so-and-so, run onto his property and catch a rabbit, a hare. They're big rabbits. And they'll jump a fence, catch it, bring it back, and those gypsies ate that way. And so now in Ireland and England, it's a lurcherman, that's a thing. And so, but there was a guy in the 1500s called Lord Orford or Oxford. So he owned a bunch of land, and he was a noble baron or something. All those guys were inbred because you always married your cousin because you keep all the land in the family. So, well, this guy was obsessed with coursing dogs. So he had a kennel. These dudes had kennels. They didn't have 20 dogs. They had like 150. And they got the church, the clergy, and the monks. They did everything. They lived in the kennel, and they cleaned and whelped litters and did everything. And they bred hundreds and hundreds of dogs and tested the shit out of them. And the dogs that didn't do good, they culled. Well, this guy was an absolute nut for this coursing, sport. And he started crossing all kinds of stuff, collies, and then he used the bull baiting dog of the day. And people thought, this guy's nuts. A lot of those people were inbred and they're a little wacky. So it's like, you put a big, because then at that time, that was a big, thick, like a butcher's dog, a bull baiting dog. They've all been different throughout the years, but there was more like a pressa or, like a small pressa, a heavier bull baiting type dog. So they bred that to the greyhound. And there was, once they got down to like an eighth or a quarter, they said there was really nothing. You couldn't see any bulldog in there. They looked like greyhounds. But they said that after that cross, greyhounds at the time used to have kind of fluff on their tail and a little fluff on their ears, like a Saluki. After the bulldog cross, they didn't have that. And they also, I don't know what the color, if it was brindle, there was some other color that, and the fur was more uniformly short. So there's a dog that he produced, a female called Cesar. I think her name was Cesar, something like that. That bitch is supposed to be the mother of all racing greyhounds. And it's true. It's not a made-up story. So, and the other thing is, look up Columbus coming to the New World. In 1492, he brought war dogs, and they called them just a general for thousands of years. All Europe and all over northern Africa, they had a breed. It was a type of dog called an Elant, and there were different types. And they were started by a tribe of nomadic people in North Africa called the Alani tribe. They were kind of like the Spartans of North Africa, but they traveled. They had goats and sheep and horses and these dogs. And so these were big war dogs, and they were trained, and they herded sheep and did whatever needed to be done. But they were the most badass dog, period. All bull breeds, mastiff breeds, Cane Corso, the Dogo Argentina, everything comes from them. But they weren't an exact type. I mean, they weren't an exact breed. They were more of a type. But if you look at the artwork, because there's artwork and lots of documentation of the history of Columbus with these dogs, because he was an evil, sick, twisted fuck. And he had these dogs. And look at the artwork. They show there's a thing of all these Spanish guys in tights standing around watching these dogs kill these natives. And some of them look like somewhere between a greyhound and a doggo. And some of them look just like a rough-looking game-bred pit. And those were the war dogs. That was like the baddest. Matter of fact, the Romans hired these Alani tribesmen to guard. There's a wall in England that keeps the. It was kind of like the people above that wall were too feral to tax and to legislate over them. So they guarded that wall to keep those people from coming in, and they hired them because not only were those people crazy dog people, like they had the best dogs, they also had these war horses. Their horses nowadays they call them warm bloods. They're a heavier war horse that's made for, they're bred to fight. You run in and you're shooting people with arrows and slicing their heads off with your thing on top of a horse. And if people are too close to you, they teach the horse to kick the shit out of everybody, stomp it to death. So it's those people were known for that. And those people went all across Africa, all across up into Europe, up into Spain, and back into Africa. That was their thing. And everywhere they went, people bred to those fucking dogs. They were the badass dogs. They were like not just the biggest, but they were game. They were, what all of our dogs come from. A boxer, a Great Dane, all those dogs. They all come from the Elant type dog.
Okay. Coach, let me ask you this before I let y'all take off again. I see you doing shows on reconstructing dogs with the Doberman or any few breeds you might know. How would you manipulate fixing the Doberman or any breed you see has some large modern day weaknesses in it?
I would go back to the source, man. I would go back to Louis Doberman and see what he did, and then go back to his formula if I wanted to correct some things, because obviously they went opposite of what he was doing with the Doberman, because his dog was strictly built to do a job. So he wasn't trying to prance it around in a show ring and make it all look uniform. The dog was bred to do a job, and he used certain dogs to do it. So that's what I would do. I always believe in the source. I go back to the root, figure out how they did it, and then I'll add whatever breeds I need to add to correct what I need to correct. You know what I mean? I'm not going to go back. I'm not going to go to a well that's already tainted. That's what people think. They could fix shit with tainted blood. That's not how I see it. I'll go back because I know how to make dogs. So I'll go back and figure out how the Doberman was made by Louis Doberman, and I will cook it up that way. Matter of fact, I'll take it to another level. I'll find me some more dogs. I'll take his concept, find me other dogs to make it better.
Right.
That's what I would do.
Yeah, Kyan says here, he said, the Brusher Run, I'll go back to it. Yeah. I guess
I have so many books on Dobermans. Like I said, when I was a kid, I was obsessed with those freaking dogs. I had several of them. The last one I had to put down at 3 years of age because he had some diabetes, insipidus shit, and tons of them, this is 30 years ago. Tons of them have cardiomyopathy, von Willebrand's disease, all this stuff. I love them. I think they're cool dogs. I don't think anybody has a stomach to fix them. People, I don't know what it is. In the United States, everybody's got these stupid ideas of, like I said, purity. Purity means that there's nothing else ever crossed in,
Right.
Dogs weren't bred like that. Back 150 years ago, 200 years ago and back. I mean, I don't know if people think purebred dogs or dogs just happened recently. They've been around for 80,000 fucking years. They weren't wolves 500 years ago. We're talking thousands of years. So men have been domesticating them and breeding them forever. And Dobermans, nobody knows exactly. I probably have 6 books that talk about a different formula on every one. They use local shepherd, not a German shepherd, just like a local shepherd. And they used a German Pinscher. Some people say it was a Manchester Terrier, but I find it hard to believe it'd be a Manchester Terrier. But Pinscher, because a Doberman, Pinscher means terrier. So they used that, and they used, some people say they used German short-haired pointer. There definitely was a Weimaraner thrown in, Great Dane thrown in. a greyhound was much, much later. And unfortunately, I don't think it made a huge percentage of the dogs. That's the other thing. Like I created my own breed, and you know, I guess I'm just weird. I'm not really. I just producing a look on a dog, you know, or just saying I got one that's great. I want to produce a dog that gene pool has nothing in it but to throw better traits. You know,
Right. Me
cleaned
too.
up. And that just takes fucking forever to do.
Yeah, it takes time, but you know what? If you love what you do, it is what it is. It's the process. You know what I mean? Like I don't
It'd
rush.
be
I don't rush.
better if you had a big group of people that could
Yes.
work together, but I don't know
That's-
it's
yeah, right.
they can't work together. They just
Correct.
start talking shit about each other. That's one of the other things. I watch you and I'm like, I know you're pissing people off.
Yeah,
Just-
I've seen some of his Facebook. He go one by one. You naysayer.
Oh,
you
man.
he be going down the line. Like
You
it's
hit all
okay.
kinds of camps. Because
Yeah.
I mean, when you're talking about performance,
Oh, boy.
you got trainers, they hear that shit and like, what the fuck's he done? You don't have a Schützen 3, you don't have an IPO 6, or you know, you don't have this and that. Which I understand.
Hey, but Vito, check this out. This is me. I stay in my lane. I respect trainers. Y'all do what y'all do, right? I respect like I credit my whole play to like I said, Formula One racing, Formula One canine. That's me. So I'm the one that builds the dog. I don't train it. I don't tune it. I build it. I don't drive it. The trainer drive it, handler. Okay, so if you want to, you know, combat me on what I'm talking about, I'm the one that build the dog that you can train. Okay, so I don't even when they get at me and the people talk, I'm like, in my mind, stay in your lane. You know what I'm saying? You don't know how to make these dogs. I do though. I know how to make them, and that's my expertise is making dogs. You know what I mean? And then a lot of people though too, they don't know how to tune their dog's mental space up. They'll just believe in genetics and think that that dog's supposed to automatically be what the genetics say. No, you have to develop a dog. And most people don't know how to develop animals. So they'll throw a dog in the trash because they're expecting a dog to be a certain type of way based off of his parents versus you developing and using your gift as a trainer to make that dog better. And a lot of these trainers is just looking for plug and play dogs. And like I said, I'm not a trainer, but a lot of people look for plug and play animals. And for me, I know better. An animal come out, it's got great genetics, but when it comes out, it's a fucking zero to me. I have to develop that dog. I have to put in the time. Now, there's some dogs that, pass and some dogs that fail. But if I believe in the genetics, it should pass. And if I believe in my expertise, let's say if I was a trainer, it should pass. But I believe in my expertise as an artist or a breeder. And so when people get in their shit, I'll be like, whatever. To me, it's like, whatever. I done heard it all before. You can't do what I do. So fuck you. That's how I am.
Right. Right.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you do. You're never satisfied, people. If you get into breeding dogs because you want to be popular or you want to make people not hate you or whatever. I've seen people, they have a Schützen 3 and they still talk shit about those dogs. So, I got to the point, I made it a mission years ago, I was saying, the breed should be able to be working as a catch dog, and a lot of bully people don't want to hear that shot. But man, nobody catches hogs anymore. Nobody does this. I said, I know, I understand that, but I think the ultimate thing, because that's the history of the breed, there's supposed to be a southern farm dog, catch dog, lead-in catch dog. And then people said, well, you just have show dogs. You could never do that. And so I did it, not just one, many of them. And here in southern Missouri, up until just about a year ago, we had a huge population. We still have them, but the government supplied all kinds of money to kill as many wild feral hogs. And we had
Texas too.
more of a pure Russian boar, because there was a guy out in Fort Leonard Wood that years ago, like 25 years ago, that had one of those can hunt places, and they'd raise Russian wild boar, get them really big, and you pay a couple grand or $3,000 or whatever, and you can shoot it and then mount it. It's a canned hunt. So the guy went out of business, and and just let them loose, and they crossed into all the other populations. So our hogs were really big. But that's what I was saying. I did everything I could think of to improve my dog's breathing and health and athleticism and grit and all that stuff. And I used, like I said, in American Bulldogs, we have two sides. We have the standard side and we have the bully side, the Johnson side. And there was a guy called Joe Painter in Chicago and a guy up in Massachusetts, Steve Leclerc. And there was another guy in Illinois called Larry Cora. There was a whole group of them. And like in the late 80s, 90s, they were doing everything they could to clean up the breed. And they wanted a giant dog that could, when I say giant, 75 to 95 pounds. And some of them were bragging that the dogs could hang with Pitbulls in contests. I don't know. I don't think it was true. That I asked Schoolboy about that. He said I never heard anything. So, and what they did is they crossed probably lots of game dogs in there. I heard they put a Walker Hound in. I heard they used a band dog, some kind of band dog, and so they went to one direction, and then the Johnson were putting St. Bernard and English Bulldog and Oldie, and people are still putting Oldie Bulldog in them, because you do a cross like that, you get all the shitty stuff, and then after one or two generations, they kind of milquetoast. So boom, you throw another Oldie or English in there, and bam, you get all those freaky weird things, and but you're never correcting anything; you're just making it worse.
Correct. Hey, Brother Joe, can you do me a favor and pull up Red Tiger? So I want to show Vito Red Tiger, man. Pull up Red Tiger. Hey, the Brazilian Bulls will love to use Red Tiger, Vito. Even though y'all, I watched your live last week, and you asking all the engineer questions. You know what I'm saying? You're like, how this and how that. You going back in the genetic formula, and you trying to figure it out. Like, how the fuck are they doing this?
The Brazilians have done something nobody's done. I mean, I'm not saying Brazilian Bulls.
So what with the video, if you can find a video of Red Tiger, Joe.
Yeah, I got you.
So Vito can see him and stuff.
Yeah, I think she's heavy on that Tyson dog and a lot of Mufasa, and then she's got that outcross to the Neo boxer, right?
No. Red Tiger. He's what they called a Rocky Mountain Bulldog. That's what they called that one. A real extreme dog, like an extreme bulldog. Real muscular, real wide, big bone, big ass head. You know what I mean? So when I got him, that. What do you think of him, Vito? Show that picture of him right there, Joe.
He's nice.
Look at that. Look how wide that motherfucker's chest is, and his big ass head and his bone and shit.
Yeah, that's kind of like my dogs. When I first started, they weren't.
So you got a video, Coach?
There's a video on there if you could keep going there.
All right.
So, what is he from? He's buff. He's a buff dog.
He's a buff dog. Yeah, look at all the muscle on that motherfucker right there, Vito. Extreme. I mean, so I was trying to take him and making him a performance bulldog. I wanted to make extreme dogs like him that could perform like pit bulls. But what I learned in my lab, there's videos over there, Joe. You just gotta keep clicking. What I learned in my lab, Vito, is that extreme dogs don't mix with high performance dogs. It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Well, it's just there's too much English Bulldog, and then when you got that nasal skull and muzzle structure, you get that
for breathing.
That BAS, that brachiophilic airway syndrome.
Yep, that soft palate.
Yeah. So trust me, man. I've gone through hell.
So click the video. Go on my thing and click the video. You know how right now you're on the regular post. So just click the actual video, and then you'll find it sooner. So I learned that the hard way too, Vito. I learned that the hard way as well. You know what I mean? Like, you know what? Extreme features, that bully extreme look, it's great and all, but it doesn't mix with high performance, and it is what it is. Because once you start adding different genetics in there to fix it, you're going to break down that extreme look that you like. You're going to break that shit down. Then when you go back to try to add something to bring that extremeness back, you're gonna fuck up the performance.
Yeah, I still get my
Look at that
type.
motherfucker, Vito. Oh, that's the puppies he had.
Okay.
Yeah. There's another one on there, dude, too, Joe. Just click
Okay.
on to him so you can see him, man. Hey, that motherfucker right there, Vito. That boy was a fucking freak, Vito. Rock. Crazy drive, but he couldn't breathe worth of shit. He couldn't breathe worth of motherfucker. You know, so for me who likes performance dogs, it's like, okay, cool. I got a piece to my puzzle, but I got a lot of work to do. You know, I got a lot of work to do to fix that. But you know what? I was warned though. I was warned by Jackie and Joe. They told me that them dogs, they bred them like that because people wanted them. But they told me that the dogs they didn't breathe good. So, and they didn't have an off switch. They told me that too.
Yeah, it's a bad combination. They'll kill themselves before they stop and chill out.
Yep, and that's what happened to him.
And I think that's some of the English Bulldog in there. Believe it or not. I had a hog hunter tell me that he took a game bred female and bred it to an English just because he had a friend that had an English. And he was telling me that thing, the whole litter, they're all crazy. Didn't have a lick of sense to them. And they were aggressive and just stupid. Well, I mean, that's what Johnson did, and a lot of people down south did. I have a friend I've had for 30 years, and he was from North Carolina, and he went back. He's from New Jersey, and he went back and said, "Hey, I'm going to visit this dude, man. He was breeding these bulldogs when I was a kid. He's freaking 80, still got dogs." I said, "Man, ask him." Wow. Where the fuck these dogs come from? What is the history? What? And so he talked to the old guy and he said, well, we use plots, a lot of them. We used to use black-mouthed curs. And he said, we'd always have a catch dog. And I think him and his son, they used to like to fight dogs too, back in the day, in the 70s. And he said, if we get one that doesn't catch real good, we'll throw a terrier in there. So they'll put more Pitbull in it. So I think that's just how they were for a long time. And then the guy said something that freaked us both out because he said, I've never done it, but I hear tell that occasionally they'll put a full-blooded English Bulldog in there. And I'm like, what the? But, in the 40s or 50s, even 20s, 30s, 40s, English Bulldogs are probably a lot different. They had more leg. They probably didn't have quite as many problems because I can't imagine people back then doing AIs and doing C-sections and all that shit. And most people didn't have air conditioning in their house. How are they going to keep those dogs alive? It just doesn't make any sense. And, I put on the first show here in Missouri back in 1996, I think. And I'd been to a couple shows, and I thought, man, this is real unprofessional. I'm gonna hire some AKC people to judge, different people I used to know. So I called this lady that I knew. She showed Dalmatians. I said, do you know anybody who'd be really good? She goes, oh yeah, I have this real old lady. She's fantastic. Call her. So I call her. I swear to you, this is our conversation. I'm talking to the lady, and I said, yeah, I want to do this. I'd like to educate you on what the breed is. She goes, well, what is it? I've never heard of it. And so I started explaining the dogs, and she goes, oh, wait a minute. Is this a Florida hog dog? I said, yeah, that's kind of what there. She goes, I'll never forget it. In the 60s, we were in an outdoor show in the Florida Panhandle, and she said a bunch of us were watching this guy walk around with this big white bulldog. You could kind of tell it was a bulldog. It was big and it was white. So a couple of us approached him and said, well, what is that? And he said, wow, this is a Florida hog dog. And she goes, really? I've never heard of that. She goes, what is it derived from? And he goes, I don't know. They've always been here. She goes, but I hear tell if they run out of them, they take a Harlequin Great Dane and breed it to an English Bulldog. That's what that lady told me. And I was like, you know what? That might produce a dog that looks like an American Bulldog. Definitely, if you breed a Harlequin to a piebald dog, you're going to get white. So I think they're basically catch weight pits that didn't make the cut and were given away. Maybe they're too big or they weren't quite game enough. They're given away to hog hunters or cattlemen, or and they just became kind of a something everybody had. And, these little pockets, hillbilly type people, they bred amongst themselves, and they've just bred a game bred dog to something bigger. Like I said, plot hound, a bay dog, whatever. It was just used for work. They weren't trying to sell puppies, and it became a tradition. And then I think they almost died out. And then Johnson and Alan Scott came to save the breed and preserve it. But they just pulled dogs out of the woods with no pedigree, and so we don't know what they were. And the rest is history.
Hey, hey, fellas, you know why people feel, a lot of people, well, I'm gonna say a few people feel some type of way about me. Brother Joe, you can respect this. They feel some type of way about me, whether it be envy, jealous, hate, because I really got the dogs. So when I talk my shit, I'm talking because I'm talking about dogs. I'm not talking about me as an individual.
Right.
I'm not flexing on them as an individual dog, man. I'm not showcasing me. I showcase dogs, and they be in their feelings because they don't got the dogs that I got. I got all kind of dogs, and everything that I got is top tier. Right. I know what the fuck I'm doing. I know how to look for dogs. I have a gift. It's a gift from God when it comes to making dogs, picking out dogs, relating to dogs, understanding genetics, understanding and like I said, I love variance. How many people speak about wanting variance in a litter? Most people always speak, I only want consistency. Well, I mean, cool, but you never know. You may never get a freak like AK if you was breeding the way you breeding for consistency. AK wouldn't have came to life if they was breeding for consistency. AK came to life because it was a hybrid vigor breeding. You know what I'm saying? So people feel some type of way because, again, I speak on it. I speak on this shit with conviction. I speak on me doing dogs with conviction because I really live it. I really have the dogs. I've really done it. I've done all kind of different breedings. I failed multiple times, and I was successful multiple times too. So when you can talk with that much conviction about your formula, about your craft, and then you can show them, oh, they always going to be in their feelings. And so I stopped responding to them. I remember I was watching your live, Joe, when you was talking to Hecka. He learning to not respond to them fucking heckles.
No,
you know what I mean?
Not all of them, no. Mm-mm.
Yeah, he learning. So over time, right? Because in the beginning, I used to defend myself because I had AK, and I was on those groups on Facebook, them Facebook groups, and I remember when I first got AK, and I was showcasing them on the Pitbull groups, and man, oh my God, when I tell you that shit was going crazy, it was going crazy. They was hating on there. Then you had the fans on there. So I was like, yo, I can't believe there's so much engagement. I'm talking about thousands of fucking comments about AK.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, damn. So I'm over there defending it. You know what I mean? He's not a fucking game pit bull. He's not, he's a double XL pit bull phenotype. Now I'm trying to teach these dummies. He's a double XL pit bull phenotype, genotype. That's what he is. He is not a standard pit bull, but they don't want to listen. They're fucking idiots. But I'm over there trying to explain things to them because I understand how to make dogs. If I want to make a smaller pit bull, I know how to make one. I know how to want to make a medium-sized pit bull. If I want a pit bull with maximum prey drive, I want to lower the prey drive. I want longer legs. I know how to do that shit. You know what I'm saying? And let's say with the pit bull, I understand if I'm competing with the dog, I'm going to throw anything in that dog that's going to correct its performance. And if you're not going to do no fucking DNA test when we go for a weight and a date, how the fuck would you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You pointed out to me a while ago.
You know what I mean?
You pointed something out to me a while ago too, like, you was talking about the jealousy and envy. A lot of it, people can't show the dogs you have done, and your dogs are popular. Everybody know AK-47. When me and Vito talk, I won't talk about AK-47 because these dudes, a lot of them want to be bigger than the dogs nowadays. It's
correct.
A social media era, you know what
correct.
I mean? And a lot of commentary ain't even about dogs. It's about other people.
And so watch this, Joe. So when I came in, Vito also chat. When I came in the dog game, I came in purposely not showing me. I came in purposely making it about the dogs because I've expressed this actually last week on my live. I told them if it showed the world me, then I'll have so many followers because all I got to do is show you what you fucking envy and what you want. I'll show you all the spoils of war. I'll show you all the shit you wish you had, all the shit you dreamed of. But instead, I'm showing you the dogs that you wish you had. So then when I show you the dogs, then that's when the hate comes. Because you can't show me dogs.
Dogs, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't go dog for dog with me. You can't go production. And if you can, I respect it. I respect it. I'm not going to hate on you. Oh, great, beautiful dog. You know what I mean? Hey, great, beautiful production. But that's not the internet dog world. The internet dog world is personalities first, dogs last.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. But that don't mean shit on the ground.
I mean, come on. Like I said, if you really into this dog shit, then you know what I mean? Fuck that. You know what I mean? I fell in love with looking at dogs before it was personalities. You know, we go back in the days. It's like you, Vito, you had your website. Back in the days when I first discovered buff dogs, it was a YouTube little basic ass clip of a dog named Rocky that they had. I was like, what the fuck is this? It was a bulldog. I'm like, damn, I never seen no bulldog like that before. You know what I'm saying? So I was going to websites looking at dogs. I didn't give a fuck who owned the dog. I didn't care, you know. But now it's the opposite of that. It's the opposite of what it is or what it should be. Yeah,
and and even on the ground, it's a little crazy because if you buy a dog from this person, they like Crips and Bloods. They put you over there. It's like it's really weird right now. You know what I mean? Really weird.
It's backwards.
Yeah.
It's backwards. But you know why? Because they don't got no dogs. That's why I like, man, you know, hey, Vito, excuse my aggression, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, when you really live this shit and you sacrifice so much for this type of shit, and you know what I mean? Like, you sacrifice your whole life, everything for it, you know, it just hits different. And so when you see the dog game the way it is today, and people want to talk slick to me, you know what I'm saying? That's why I'll be like, sounds good, Joe. I'll be like, sounds good, spectator.
Yeah.
That's hey Vito, that's how I kill him. Sounds good, spectator. I don't do no more yapping with him. Sounds good, spectator. Because you can't do what I do. You ain't got the DNA, you ain't got the sperm I got saved up in my sperm bank that I pay every year for. All the different dogs that I save sperm and bought sperm, I got them sitting in my lap waiting for me to use them. Just waiting for me to get in my bag. You ain't got all the dogs I got on my fucking yard that I can use. Your program ain't even thinking 10, 20 years. My program is already 20 years ahead. My program is already 20 years ahead. Okay, and I'm thinking about adding different dogs to my formula. They're not thinking like that. And that's why I respect what the Brazilian Bulls are doing. And shout out to you, Vito, and Ari and all them, because them boys was doing that. They were doing that, or them boys and girls. They was doing that over there in Brazil. Taking their little shit, mixing and matching and doing their shit. And they're not lying about what they did. That's how every dog is fucking made. Every breed is made by mixing breed. Composite breeds make pure dogs. Where did that logic go extinct?
And I have people wanting to argue that the Brazilian Bulls should shut their stud book. I'm like, what? I mean, the best dogs from Brazil. I mean, you could probably say maybe there's 20 breeds, or 20, not breeds, but 20 dogs, 20, maybe 30 dogs. But see, that's why it's so rare. I mean, it's rare. Like, the way they think is totally different. Like, when I first got into it, I didn't know this, but Aria said, they register F1 crosses. So they'll register it. It's fine. It's perfectly fine, but you got to use the core breeds, only from the XL Pitbull, the American Bully, or the American Bulldog. And they say also oldie Bulldog, but there's really not a lot of oldie in them. But the more I thought about it, I thought, wow, it's kind of weird. And I told her, I told her the first time she told me that, I said, I don't know. In the United States, it's not going to last because people, I don't know what it is. People, there she is.
There's Aria right there. What's up, Aria? Hey, thank you for sharing the show on your platform. Give us a little more light. Not a little more light, a lot more light.
There might be a whole bunch of people in there because of her.
Hey, I got a story about Aria. I got a story about Aria. Aria. Hey, I love you, Aria. I love you, sis. So just kind of like, how Vito, how you mentioned, you was talking about, you saw that AK post, and I was, you heard me do like maybe AK or something like that, right? You heard me my little voiceover, right?
Mhm.
So this is how I met Aria, right? So I had a post, and I was doing my voiceovers. You know what I'm saying? Me, however I talk or whatever, right? With the and all that shit, right?
Mhm.
So she hit me up, and it's like, man, keep doing your posts. I love your commentary. Keep doing that, right?
Yeah.
So of course, boom. I'm like, oh, who's that? So I go in and check out her page, and of course, she does the Brazilian Bull, right? And so I needed a dog shipped because she has a shipping. She used to do dog transport as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I reached out to her, right? Because I had a dog that I needed to be shipped to Peru. And man, Aria, I love you, Aria. You're awesome. Great service, man. She got my dog puppy shipped to Peru, and she was so professional and everything. But she always encouraged me. She loved my voiceovers, and she always encouraged me with my dog. So you with the right one, Vito, with Aria. She's
When
awesome,
she
man.
asked me to join the group, I was like, I don't know. I've never had a partner. But man, it's worked out great.
Yeah, you deserve it. You deserve it, Vito. You deserve it, bro. Anybody else?
Yes.
I think of you deserve it, man. To have Aria.
Aria is a dog. She's a dog person. Like she knows dogs. She's not, she's just not somebody looking at looks. She knows a dog. But the thing that is incredible about her is like, holy crap. I mean, she can post a video and get 100,000 views. She posted a video of her puppy and it got like 1 million views or some shit. I'm like, I post videos I think are good because I'm trying to do all that stuff, but I just don't have it. I like being the genetic architect. I like being in the mechanic in the back shop. She's the showroom floor.
Yeah.
But see, with the Brazilian Bull, right? With the Brazilian Bull, because you're allowed to be creative, you're allowed to get in your engineer bag. That's a perfect place to be. And I would encourage all the individuals that's involved in that Brazilian Bull is keep that open, because your stud book open. Keep that philosophy of the F1s, F2s, because that's how you'll progress it. The dogs will get better and better and better. As soon as you close it, you're going to bottleneck and your shit going to diminish. So I would encourage you guys that have the way with the Brazilian Bull, keep the formula the way it is, and just keep broadening that shit. Keep broadening it and make the dogs better, fine tune it. Make, and the only way you can do that is having a wide variety of genetics to choose from. You know what I mean? Right. That's the only way you do it. As soon as you start closing that shit, you're going to get genetic bottlenecking and, genetic inbreeding depression, all that shit going to happen to you. And it is what it is. But
people will always, traditional breeders will say, oh man, hybrid vigor is good, but it's one and done, which it could be. But the Brazilians have proved it's not a one and done. I can't say exactly what did it, what clicked,
I know what does it, Vito. You have to breed proven producers to proven producers. Just because a dog is pure doesn't mean it's going to be a proven pre-potent producer. Just because a dog is scatterbred doesn't mean it's not going to be a pre-potent proven producer. Either a dog is pre-potent, whether it's a scatterbred or full-bred, or it's not. Once you get that logic in your head as an engineer, then you get it. But if you thinking inside a box because you ain't never experimented in your lab, then you a fucking dummy. To me, I'm an engineer. I'm not a dummy. I'm going to test everything. Test it. Then I find out, oh, wow, this scatterbred dog is producing better than this purebred dog. Oh,
yeah, it can happen. I had a dog that he came off some of my tight stuff, but there was about a 25% outcross in him. And he was my dog, Jack. He was ripped, crazy muscle. He had a muzzle like a standard type American Bulldog, but the body of a bully. Anyway, what my buddy I was mentioning earlier, he was the first one to breed to the dog. And he produced this female called Morticia. She championed out like in no time. And in his yard, he used to have like I mean, 15 of these little 8x8 kennels all lined up along the creek. And so you'd walk down, you'd see all his females, all his dogs kind of not pretty in a row. And when they saw her with all that muscle, people just didn't want a dog from any of the other females. So then he started putting her in the house anytime somebody would come, because he had 30 dogs. He needed to sell dogs off of all of his females. Well, that dog, my dog Jack, who his dad was a hell of a stud, but I didn't expect him to be that much. And I was stupid. I should have bred the crap out of him, because he was such a good stud. And like I could breed him to almost anything, no matter what. They'd get the muscle, and most of all, they'd get his solid, temperament and drive. He was a dog. He loved people. I don't think he had a civil, spooky bone in his body, but he had about 10 seconds of patience with any dog that was trying to, dominate him. And that guy bred, long story short, became evident. You could tell, because my dog Jack had a pen hip of 41. All my dogs, because I inbred on my one female that was 36. Almost all my dogs are right around that 36 to 41. And his dogs, before he bred to my dogs, a lot of people were returning them, getting replacements because they were like in the 5s or 6s. And then all of a sudden, his dogs totally changed. They all looked tighter, more muscular, and had my dog's muzzle. And the people that checked hips, surprise, they had my dog's hips, even to the point where it was like great grandkids. And it was like, when you do some shady shit like that, rip a breeder off, karma's a bitch. That genetics bit him in the ass. And it's, anybody that paid attention could see that's what it was. So sometimes you get dogs, I don't know what it is. They're not inbred or anything. They just frickin' throw themselves.
Correct.
No matter what.
Correct. And if you understand that as a breeder, if that's who you are, I'm an artist. If you understand that, and you have to test it. See, what I teach my guys, right, my brothers, is that we test everything. I mirror my program to thoroughbred racehorses, and how they breed. And, even though that horse might have not been a stellar winner, they still going to test it because, as far as in the breeding shed, because, they got money invested. So they're going to test it in the breeding shed and on the track. So you might have a dog that might not fit your standard as far as what you want it to be. However, runt, or that dog that's, lackluster to you in performance might be a better producer than your top tier performer. That's a fact. So if you're willing to trust your genetics and test everything when it comes to what it does in the performance area and also in the breeding area, then you get a lot more shit. A lot of times we throw dogs away just because they don't look a certain type of way, but you might throw away your best producer. And I found that out the hard way, just based on, well, not even the hard way. I just found that out just based off a default, keeping a whole litter and, and having a runt that I would have just gave it away. Honestly, I would have gave it away, but she became one of my best producers and I couldn't believe it.
That's what I try to tell people too. Like I get people, I call them alphabet breeders, I've got champion title dogs, or I've got all these codes, of titles, and I'll go through, what's that title? And they're like, they're silly. They're not really the great, they're not like a Schutzen 3, but even Schutzen 3, like that takes money and a lot of time, and it proves, not just any dog can do that. But you go through all that, and then you find out that dog throws completely different, or throws an issue, heart issue, or allergies, or temperament issue. There's a guy that used to be in American Bulldogs, had a pretty well-known dog. He was like one of the first Schutzen 3s, maybe the second or third. But he was telling me after he bred the crap out of the dog, he's like, man, I just like 2 pups out of every litter off of him, and even his grandkids, we get them back because they're too much. They'll bite people and their family and all this crap. And I'm like, So, some people are all about titles, which titles are, I mean, it's a good thing. I mean, it does prove something.
Right.
But if you're breeding, I started when I was 30 something, and I'm 60 now, 62, and I stop and think I'm not going to live to be 100 probably, and if I did, I couldn't handle these freaking dogs at 85. So my time's limited, and even when you're 30, your time's limited. It takes a lot of freaking time. It takes a lot of breedings to learn what the fuck you're doing. Some people never learn.
Yeah, they never learn because they're not open. I always tell my brothers to think outside the box to create the circle. If you're not thinking outside the box, you'll never progress as a breeder. If you're not thinking outside the box, if you're not breaking your fucking program down all the way down, pluses and minuses, and then trying to figure out ways to build it back up, even though you might not have it in your yard, you need to be figuring out how you can correct that. But most people aren't going to do that. They're going to stick to the same well and keep milking it. They're going to keep milking the same cow, and then they're going to get the same result. But again, not everybody is an elite level breeder. You know what I mean? And like I said, the only way you really notice that is if you're breeding for competition, because that forces you to correct your wrongs. Because if you don't correct it, you're going to keep getting your ass beat. But if you're breeding for a novelty or just a look or whatever, okay, you can get complacent in that. Because I got the look, I'm cool, until somebody trumps your look. Then guess what? You got to go in your bag and figure out how to correct it. But until somebody pressures you in a level of competition, then you're not going to do nothing. Your program is going to be stale. Your dogs are going to be, whatever. But if you always competing with yourself first in your program and your dogs, and your objective is to make every breeding better, then you're going to always have to think outside the box to create the circle. You will never you can never just breed the same way because you're like, fuck, I'm just getting the same dogs, or I'm getting my genetic pool is bottlenecked. Now I'm getting lesser dogs. Now my dogs are getting smaller, or the drives aren't as drivey, or whatever it is that you might have already had. Most people don't think progressively. You know why? Because they worried about looks, which is fine. If that's what you are breeding for, like if you're a show breeder, then that's what you're breeding for. Okay, cool. Your looks. But see, I'm a performance breeder, so frames, brains, and motors. How I breed is a lot harder than a show dog breeder, because I got to think of everything. I can't leave. My dogs have to have the body type to perform. It just can't look like a performer and not perform. You see what I'm saying? It can't be like a red tiger, be all muscular and big, but as soon as that boy does about 15 minutes of work, he gonna gas out and die. It can't. My program can't be that way. I have to think about everything and build a dog complete, which is a lot harder. You know what I mean? So I can't lie to myself, Vito, as a breeder.
That's eventually what I did with my American Bulldogs. I'm to the point. And the thing is, 99% of the people that breed dogs, they're only looking at cosmetic stuff. A beautiful dog or this and that. But like you're saying, there's so much more. Breeding dogs is not, like I said, if you're looking for people to just love on you and think you're the greatest, it's not the best thing to get into. 30 years of messing with dogs, the best times I've ever had is looking over when I'm scooping shit and I see my dogs doing something that's amazing.
Me too.
That, their movement, or, I've tested dogs since I've been trying to clean up the breathing. I got to a point where I let a dog get to a certain age, and then I wait for a hot, humid day. I have well water, so it's cold. I got a hose running, but I heat that son of a gun up. I flirt pole or chasing a ball or whatever. If they want to kill my lawnmower, I run up and down with the lawnmower, just to push them to the point where their throat's going to swell up and they're going to start to overheat, and then I stop and cool them down. But those, a lot of dogs that perform good, they don't take good pictures. They don't look good in a video. They're not, the best dog I ever produced was a dog called The Real Deal. He was the son of the most proven hog dog I've ever produced. This dog I called him Mayday because he was a red dog, and red dogs with heavy color in American Bulldogs is a kiss to everybody. every asshole and their brother's like, what is that? A boxer? Is that a? Well, I had a lady from the UK say, I can tell you put Rhodesian Ridgeback into that dog. I'm like, or they see a little black on the muzzle and like, you put Mastiff in there, didn't you? Like, oh yeah, that's it. That's just, the Mastiff is just a color. So, but that dog Mayday, he was one of the first dogs I placed with a hog hunter, and I knew about hog hunting, but I'm still not an expert at hog hunting, but I didn't ask the guy, hey, you're gonna hunt as a lead-in catch dog. I didn't ask him anything because I figured he's a hog hunter, he knows. But he hunted different. He had a property that he hunted on that was like a big valley in the woods, and at the bottom of the valley was like a creek and all these cedar trees, and hogs loved it there. And there was like a log road that went all the way around it, and he would just let everybody loose, all the bay dogs and bulldogs. So my dog Mayday had to work like a running catch dog. Well, American Bulldogs aren't bred to be running catch dogs. Like a doggo could be a running catch dog, but they're a lead-in catch dog. It's actually what a band dog in ancient times meant. It's on a tie out or a chain. You lead it into the catch. When you get 100 feet away, you let it go and it catches. And they don't want a bulldog out there running with hounds, usually getting all hot, because then they get on a hog and they may get too gassed out by the time you find them. But that dog was amazing. I pen hipped him. He was 38 or 32, I can't remember. And this dude tells me, he goes, this sucker put 12 miles on his GPS collar. What the fuck are you talking about? He goes, oh yeah. He said, I went hunting with my uncle, and he said, you can't do that with a bulldog. He won't be able to walk tomorrow if he's running with them hounds. And I said, really? He said, yeah. And I said, has he had trouble? He said, no. Well, I got that dog back because he broke his canines. He broke 3 top canines and 1 at the bottom. And so I got him back, and that's when I pen hipped him. And he's got really tight hips, but they weren't like the tightest. But something about him, he was the right size. He had the right nasal cavity. I don't know. He never had trouble whatsoever. And it gets hot and humid here. It not always, but in the summertime we can get to 110, and it's so humid that you can leave an air-conditioned house and get in your car, and by the time your air conditioner is working, your ass crack is sopping wet. It's like a sauna. So it's like the jungle. It's not kind of sort of hot, And his son Mayday, I wish the biggest mistake I ever made is I let a hog hunter take him. I bred him 3 times and he was inbred, and I had everything I had was off Mayday. And at that time I was like, I can't do nothing. So I bred him. I had 3 females I kept off of him and a male, and I thought I got everything. And then this guy wanted this dog, and I let him have him. And that's a long story. He didn't die on a hog hunting. Supposedly, I really don't know what happened, but supposedly he got into a fight with one of his plot hounds on his property, and it was bad news. So anyway, that friggin' dog, I should have never sold him or placed him out. And but I'd post pictures of him or video, and I'd get the dumbest shit. What, it looks like a Labrador. I mean, it's they don't look extreme or they don't look a certain way, but if people knew, like, that freaking dog could do anything. Like if it turned into the Book of Eli, remember that movie?
Yeah, yes, sir.
That dog could help me live. That he could catch shit and help me live. He could survive anything and help me live. I'm afraid there's not going to be anything like that. And in the future, I don't know. Everybody, the Brazilian dogs, they're a novelty breed to me. They're not a working dog. Nobody is really saying that they are.
Yeah.
They just look like monsters, and they got the temperament of a sweetheart, Right. My one female, I would take her for walks in this park. She was still a puppy, but I was thinking, you know what? I've never had this feeling for the last 30 years that I've had American Bulldog, but if somebody runs up on me, I'm going to have to get into this because I can't trust her. She was so expensive too. I wouldn't. But my American Bulldogs, I had a dog, Clyde, one of the best dogs I ever had. I wouldn't say he was the best breeding dog stud I've had, but just he was my best buddy, and he was trained up. He was so close. If I'd have paid $3,500 for the obedience, I could have got a PSA on him, no problem. I mean, I had people wanted to buy him because he just had, and it wasn't because of my training. And my friend, who's a trainer, got him when he was like six weeks old, and did drag work with him every 3 seconds of the day, and built him up. But he was like that his whole life. He just loved to show off, slam into decoys, and fight. But I never thought he never had any dog aggression. It wasn't even entered in his mind. So I thought, oh, he's kind of a pussy. He's not a typical American Bulldog. And he showed me a couple times that he can take care of himself. Like we were at a park, this park not too far from my house, 66 Park or something. And it's on the Merrimack River. There's a 2-mile track in the dirt down by the river, and then there's an asphalt track that's 2 miles. And I'm walking on the asphalt track, and I got him on a leash, and I see these kids come up from the river, and they got a Labrador, a Jack Russell, and a Pitbull. The Pitbull is a male, and he's like a UKC Pitbull. He's not a game dog, I don't think. So what happens? They run right to us. And what does the Pitbull do? This male Pitbull, it was probably 75, 80-pound dog, gets right in Clyde's face. And then the Jack Russell and the Labrador are circling us, and the Jack Russell nips Clyde in the ass. And I'm like trying to kick that sucker. And next thing I know, he grabbed the pit by the upper part of his neck on his collar and was shaking the crap out of him. I mean, you could hear his nails going across the asphalt. And of course, the kids ran up. The little Jack Russell came in for another bite, and I punted him about 20 feet. And they're like, "Oh, get your dog, get your dog." My dog's on a leash, And long story short, we got him broke up. The Pitbull didn't want any of that. The Labrador never wanted any of it. The Jack Russell, that son of a bitch wanted to kill Clyde. You want to get at him. But I walked away, and that's happened with other dogs, but I knew those dogs, they're the kind of dogs that I'm like, get your dog on a leash. Get him. Oh, they'll say, my dog's friendly. I'm like, well, my dog's not. So I walk away thinking, I don't have to, this sucker can take care of himself, And
Hey, Vito, have you heard about the bull herder?
Yeah. I had a friend. I used to work my dogs at that Tom Rose school down here, and so everybody there has a Malinois, and there was a couple of months there where everybody. The Tom Rose school is was a school for dog trainers. People from all over the world go there to train bomb detection, police, all that stuff. And so they have to have so many dogs, and they have to complete the course. And a bunch of those guys had female Malinois bred to a pit bull. And so they had all those dogs. So I was around a lot of those dogs. And I don't really know a whole lot about all that stuff.
Yeah, they're over there in Europe, over there in the UK and Holland and all that. They're going ham over there with them bull herders. And that's something that I pretty much shifted my program to, is them hybrid dogs. That's why I got a Kangal. That's why I got me a Malinois. I'm gonna take AK to the Kangal and Malinois and I'm gonna make an estate guardian with AK and the Kangal. So just like a Kangal with more prey drive and extreme. They already have a heavy bite force, but it's gonna be extreme with AK. And then I'm gonna make like the ultimate bull herder with AK and a Malinois. And so like that's the direction I'm going now with my dogs. And I still want to I'm making a Formula One Bulldog. I'm in the process of making that now. High performance level bulldog. I wanted to have some of the extreme features, but really extremely high level performance bulldog. So that that's the direction that I'm going. More composite breed type. I need that hybrid vigor in my shit. I need hybrid vigor. I need freaks and podium dogs. So I have the dogs to do it. I have the formula, and that's the direction I'm going because personally, I want my dogs to be in the military, police force, but military. That's the talent that I have in making dogs when it comes to performance dogs. I make dogs that can really put in the work at a high level. And so that really intrigues me what them boys overseas are doing with them bull herders. That's very intriguing. And it's like, you know what? That's the lane I need to be in where I can mix and do what I want to do. I'm not going to lie about it anyway, but it'll be appreciated, versus like when I was doing AK and my pit bulls, I wanted to make a bigger, stronger, faster pit bull. And I did. I wasn't getting respected in the pit bull community. So it's like, you know what I mean? To me, I was like, fuck pit bulls. I don't want to do pit bulls no more. I'll turn my pit bulls into bull herders where I'll get respect, because I pay homage to the dogmen of the past who made the dogs what they were, let's say with the pit bulls. But, I feel like I'm on the level as them as far as being creative to make top tier performance dogs. But I can't get any credit with pit bulls, because if it's not no old school bloodline, then, my shit is a mutt. My shit is a cur. All this stupid shit. So it's like, for me, it's like, okay, cool. I'll take my gifts and my dogs to the military where, if I get a contract, then, they'll die in honor if they was out there in the battlefield. You know what I mean? It'd be an honorable death if that was the case. Right. You know what I mean? Or they'll serve our country. So, I had to find a new direction for what I want to do with dogs because, in today's dog world, I mean, what we're going to do, we're just going to do dog sport, which I respect dog sport, do your dog sport. But, I don't know. I feel like I can make dogs that can do more than just play sport games. You know what I mean? So that's the direction that I'm going personally. Now,
well, the policemen had it figured out for a long time because when you're talking about the bull herders, you just basically talk about the KNVP dogs.
Facts.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So, yeah, they've been using them and had it figured out, I guess, because of the drives. You want
to hear something crazy? Like I think it was a little more than 20 years ago. There was a guy I was friends with who lived down the road. John's died. He moved here from like New Jersey to go to the Tom Rose school. And then he had health problems. So he always worked for Tom Rose. Tom Rose, I don't know if he's still alive. He's probably 80 something now. But he took, I think he went to Europe and beat everybody with the Malinois that he had. His Malinois were fucking nuts. I wouldn't want any of those. But anyway, we were over at his place, and he was talking about KMVP, European sports in the Netherlands. He would go there, and he would say, yeah, he asked me about, I had a dog called Shrek, and he was a big, thick, hyper nutty dog. And I took him to Tom Rose school one time. I made a mistake. He was like 5 years old, and they tried to agitate him, and he took it serious. So Tom Rose was telling us that over there they cross all kinds of stuff, and they just call them Dutch Shepherds.
Yeah.
And he was saying that the big thing was they were a lot of people were breeding to American Bulldogs for fight drive. And they use Pitbull for prey drive and fight drive. And they said they were using Greyhounds for prey drive. Mm-hmm. And they just don't. And now I heard from a friend of mine that used to work for Tom Rose that they don't even give a shit. Nobody cares. All they care about is the performance.
Yes. So again, if you think about game dogs, right? Because I started with pit bulls. If I'm lacking something in my dogs and I'm competing with you, Vito, or you, Joe, or anybody, you chat, and I want to beat you, first of all, I can't go to you and get some sauce because we're competitors. So I need to go somewhere where I can get a genetic piece that's going to enhance my dog's performance. So same thing with those dogs overseas, right? Those police dogs, those military dogs, those competition dogs. They're worried about competition at the end of the day. They're not measuring how pure that dog is. So if this mutt is beating your pure dog and you say, well, your dog is a mutt, but did it still beat your pure dog? Yeah. So then what, you're going to you're gonna stick with your pure daughters, get his ass whooped by a mutt? No, you're gonna get down and lay down. And see, in the competition world, they understand that, Vito. Chat, they understand that. Okay, here in America, I'm not saying we, because I'm not part of that, but they're not breeding competition animals. They're breeding. This dog is a champion, come from champion lines. This dog come from other champion lines. We're gonna take these same breed types. Well, okay, that's cool. In concept, is great, but that's not guaranteed. But them boys overseas, because them boys overseas have been getting government contracts from the United States government and all these other world governments buying their dogs, and they're telling them, hey, we need these dogs to be bigger. Hey, we need these dogs to be this, that. So you think they're going to keep breeding the same way? No, they're going to mix dogs to make them dogs what they need to be for their clients. You know what I'm saying? So they understand that overseas. And like you said, Vito, they don't care. But over here, you tell the truth and they're like, oh, you got mutts. You got mutts. Well, okay. It is what it is. So it's backwards over here in America, honestly.
Oh, I found that, when you outcross a dog, and I'm talking when you're making a breed and, you go back and you got 3/4 of one breed and 1/4 of another breed, or 12.5% of one breed and 12.5 another one. But that 3/4 to 7/8 dog, I guarantee you, a lot of those dogs, nobody would be able to tell that they had anything else crossed in them, because the dominant genetics is going to be the 3/4. But what happens when you outcross, it throws all them genes up in the air. And a lot of those genes are genes that have been suppressed. Like they haven't, like sometimes you do that outcross, you get size. And that's because there was some genetics in one of the two dogs that came up and got expressed, and that made a bigger dog.
Yes.
Right.
So, and it's not always just a 50-50 cross. That's the prize. The prize is going back to your blood again with the reshuffled genetics. And these game dog guys, like you were saying, you lose. They used to do all kinds of crazy shit. If you wanted somebody's dog, you'd hire somebody to steal a fucking dog off the property, and then you just hang your papers on them. Some of those guys used to do shit like throw an Irish staff in there, and then bring back
a hound dog. They'll throw a hound dog in there, or they'll throw whatever they need to throw up in there.
And some of them, they didn't purposely do anything. It was just like there was a dog. They don't really know how it was bred. There's a lot of famous dogs that were like that. They bought it at a flea market, or so it was in its third home. They don't really know how it's bred, but they know when they put it down, when the tailgate drops, they're all business.
Correct.
And they'll use it. They may not be able to, inbreed off of it, and it may not throw what it's got, but a lot of those dogs are in there. And eventually those hybrid dogs, if you stack them up in a pedigree, they're going to start to dominate. It's just that the genetics are thrown up in the air. I used to use the example, it's kind of like a snow globe, when you look at a snow globe and all the snow's on the ground, those are all the genes laying there. They're all covering each other up and they're in a pattern. But you shake them up and they're going to go like that and they're going to float. They're not going to land the same. Same with dogs. When you're outcrossing,
we call it the reshuffling of the deck.
Right. Reshuffles the deck. It expresses a little different.
And you got to respect that. You know what I mean? You have to respect that process and actually embrace it. Embrace the fact that, if you are breeding with top tier genetics, now if you're breeding with shit genetics, it's random. But if you breed with top tier genetics, you love me. I'm speaking for me. I love the reshuffling because I want to see what I can get. I want to see if I got this top tier dog let's say I got top and bottom 3 generations back, top tier dogs that I know. Period. Genetically. I want to see what all 3 from top and bottom is going to give me in the reshuffling. I want to see it. I want to. Because like you said, you never know what you got until it's expressed. So how would you know that until you do it?
It's a good example. I ran into somebody years ago and I saw this dog, and I mean, this dog was beautiful. Like I had to ask him, what is it? He had his ears trimmed and he was kind of a mousy blue color kind of. But I looked at him, I thought, he's probably some kind of Pitbull boxer or Rottweiler boxer or something like that. He was just, I mean, top line, structured good. And I asked the guy, and when he told me what it was, I thought, you're full of shit. There's no way. And I said, are you sure? He goes, yeah, we did the breeding. We had the mother and the father. The mother was a Neapolitan Mastiff, not a Cane Corso looking Neapolitan Mastiff. One of them droopy ass looking
One with
dogs.
the heavy skin and
And you know who the father was? An AKC English Bulldog.
Wow.
And the dog, I swear to God, I mean, it wasn't the greatest looking dog in the world, but he looked pretty good. And he looked like a boxer Rottweiler or something.
Wow.
So what does that tell you? Humans have fucked up this dog, and they fucked up this dog, but the genetics that's in there, it threw all that other crap out, and somewhere in there was some quality genetics, and they gathered together to make that dog.
But Vito and Coach, even with these recent created breeds like the Presser and the Corso, I mean, you can breed them together and be like, God damn, what the fuck that damn big ass motherfucker, what's that one dog, Bull Mastiff come out? Damn, the Rottweiler pop out, bitch. It'll still, so that shit'll still show up, man. It sure will. Yeah.
You know what? I got a funny story about Cane Corsos. 20 years ago, I got these. There used to be a registry called the ARF that used to register all the American Bulldogs. They were in Texas, and we went there for some meeting or for a club. And the guy's like, you want all these old? They had these little magazines called the Cow Dog magazine, and they're like from the 70s and 80s. They're like black and white. And so I took a bunch of them and I looked through them, and it was really, really odd, cool. And they had like a little classified section, and it had a Canadian number. The guy was in Canada, and they were called Bull Terrier Mastiffs or some shit like that. And then it said Georgia Giant or something like that. So I thought, what the hell? So I called that guy, and he was like from Quebec or something. He had a heavy accent, like a French accent, but he could speak English. And he said, oh, that was a long time ago. Yeah, well, how'd you hear about that? I said, so you took a Bull Terrier and bred it to a Bull Mastiff? He goes, yeah. Yeah, he said, man, I quit doing that right away. He said, they made some big, mean dogs. And I said, really? He goes, yeah, now I like to breed that same blood, and I've crossed it with this and that and blah, blah, blah. And I forget what the combination was, but I was telling him, I said, well, what does that look like? He goes, oh, if you look in that, you have one of those dog USA books? I said, yeah, I do. He said, turn it to this Cane Corso this guy has from New Jersey. I thought it was from New Jersey. It was a big brindle dog. And it was like a young guy, and his head's like this, and then the Cane Corso's head looks like this. It was like a common brindle.
Yeah.
And he said, that's one of my dogs.
Wow.
So I'm like, well, what? I don't know what it was. Maybe it had some Cane Corso in it, and it was bred to the Bull Mastiff Bull Terrier.
And that's what I love. You know what I'm saying? Like, fellas, like, that's what I love. I love to see what God's gonna give me when I cook it and mix it. I love to get them like, what the, like, wow. You know what I mean? The freaks. I want the freaks, man. You know what I mean? Not everybody want that, but I do. But it takes somebody who's creative. Like you said, Vito, you ask these questions to these breeders, and they blow your mind. Where you might not have thought about it, but they did. And because they did, look what kind of dog they was able to produce. And so they
or they did it and didn't want to admit they done it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Let them don't want to admit what they've done.
If you want to be impressed with dogs, there's these hog hunter guys out in the country. They hunt. They use their dogs for work, and they don't give a shit about papers or anything. And that, like these plot hounds and these blackmouth curs and all this stuff. And I've been on a couple hunts with them, and I'll look, some of them blackmouth curs, I'm like, man, that looks like a Mayday taints yellow, looks like a pit, kind of a pit with droopy ears. And they'll tell you, they're registered dogs. They're high quality registered dogs. They'll say, yeah, he's almost all blackmouth, but he's got a little Catahoula, or he's got a little this or a little that. because like NKC registered a lot of those field trial type dogs, and they've always had this thing they called the 7/8 rule, where you can outcross to whatever you want, but they won't register it till it gets back to 7/8. And that's how dogs were freaking bred for thousands of years. All this weird pure shit, dog show, oh, it's not pure because the tail curls over its back too much, or the one ear is funny, so that dog doesn't deserve a title. All that kind of silly cosmetic stupid shit.
Yeah.
That's recent. That's only like 200 years.
Yeah.
People didn't have nobody had money to travel to go to a dog show, and they would have thought it was ridiculous because if they got a good dog, they'll tell you that son of a bitch is a good dog. It's not because of the color, it's not because of the coat, it's not because of his look.
Definitely in our region too, Vito. When you talk about the Midwest, you talk about the South. Even coming up, we didn't give a damn. I remember one of the baddest dogs I ever had was a Chow and a Pitbull mix. That was a bad motherfucker, boy. If we had that growing up as a child,
I'm gonna grab my charger. Keep talking. I'm gonna grab my charger. Go ahead.
Okay.
Have you seen? There's like some videos out there. I've watched it a couple times. It's so cool. There's some gal that's doing this. They call them whippersnappers, and they're a Malinois female bred to a whippet male. Oh, no, and on the video, she goes through every one of those dogs, and I think the Malinois is kind of like a dock diving dog, and I don't know what the whippet, if it was a racing dog. She showed a picture of it like racing. I don't even know where they race whippets anymore, but every one of those dogs was like some kind of super athlete.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and this gal lives in Iowa, and I guess in the winter, they cut all the corn, so it just open fields and flat roads. She takes a four-wheeler and runs up 30 40 miles an hour and runs all those dogs, and she videotapes it, and it was so cool. They had some dock diving dogs, high jump dogs. It's awesome. And they're a whippet bred to a Malinois. They call them whippersnappers.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
It's cool. If I was younger, I think I would enjoy just producing an ultimate athletic dog,
Right. Let me say something before I forget. So, guys, I'm trying to cover some dogs. I need your help. So don't ask them to be on the show. Message me. I'm looking for a good lurcher breeder because I hadn't seen a lot of good stuff on lurchers. And I'm looking, I need to cover the Alapaha Blue Bulldog somebody was requesting. And Vito, you probably could help me with you could probably tell me.
I used to know that Lana Lane chick, and then I met a guy briefly. This is 25, 30 years ago. That I think he popularized the breed more than she did. Coleman, I think was his name. Cattle rustlers. He's a little shady.
Okay.
He put a bunch of stuff into those dogs. But I have a trainer friend of mine here. He had one, and it was this terrible dog. Like, not terrible as far as a working dog, but like, it's no joke. This son of a bitch will bite you, and it's not training; it's genetic. They have, they're quick to jump on shit. Not all of them, I'm sure, but the lady that originally did them, her dogs they were like pretty much like a Catahoula Bulldog, like 3/4 American, 1/4 Catahoula, which is was a very popular thing in the South. One of those cow dog magazines, there's a guy that wrote something in there, and he was talking about he doesn't like pure bulldogs. He likes them half American Bulldog type and half Catahoula, because he wants a catch dog to have a little let go. So in other words, you can call them off without having to get a breaking stick out.
Right.
Well, see, the most dogs were bred to do work, do a job, not just to prance around and look like something. You know what I mean? So if the dog works, then who cares how it looks? And again, if you're a builder of dogs and you're lacking something, you'll see a dog that has what you want, and then you'll breed it into your line. That's what you do. That's just common sense to me.
But unfortunately today, most young guys that breed and girls are just into a certain look.
Yeah, most of it is about a look.
A lot of them don't really even, I don't know. They just don't. Like when I was a kid, that was my favorite thing. If I was at the park and there was a dog running loose, man, I would mess with it, follow it, try to figure out what it was. You know, I remember there was a dog in our neighborhood. They called him Buck. And he was a big, tall, handsome, beautiful fucking dog. And he was half lab, half Irish setter. But I thought he was like a Great Dane. He had short hair and it was really dark red. And then he bred somebody's German Shepherd. And then he had a son called Forbits. And these were just like, you know, I lived in that time we were living in the suburbs, and not that many people had fences, and we had a big park behind our house. And there was a little pond up there. So a lot of people go there, bring their dogs, throw a stick in, you know, they go swimming and all that stuff. So, and then we had other dogs, you know, just, you know, back in the day, they don't have that, I guess, anymore. They used to have stray neighborhood dogs. It would, you know, he got out and he knocks over your trash cans and pisses on all your trees and he's going somewhere else. We don't see that too much anymore. I don't know. Sometimes I think, man, what are these dogs going to be like in 100 years? Are they going to be like on a roller skate? You know, are they going to around fat?
The dogs over there, the boys over there in Europe, they know what it is. They're doing it. You know what I mean? They're progressing their dogs in Europe because, like I said, that's their thing, working dogs. Here in America, everything is very superficial. So, like you said, looks, trends, things like that, people buy into in America because they're not working their dogs. Most people in America, you know, they're not really working type, physical type individuals anyway. Most people aren't. So it's like, if you want a Malinois, you have to be a owner who can handle a Malinois. You need to be out there with the dog. You know, that dog's probably going to put more work in than you can even handle. So it's just I think in America it's more of a cultural thing, you know, and like I said, over there in Europe and stuff and overseas, they're actually using their dogs for a job, whatever that might be. So their breeding tactics is totally different than ours.
Yeah. I think what it is their culture for working dogs is more common than what it is here for us. Right. But it's weird. I used to judge shows in Germany. I've been there like 4 times. I've been in the Netherlands twice. France, you know, and American Bulldogs, we always had some guys that were into working the dogs and stuff. And it's couple of times I went to Germany, I was shocked because I thought, you know, I grew up around German. St. Louis is German, all German dudes. And, you know, I remember some of my friends' dads were like first generation Germans, and they were hardcore, tough dads. They'll slap their kids around, and you know, there's not much they have to mind and they have to do things. I thought, oh man, these Germans are hardcore, man. They don't fuck around. A dog's good or it's gone. Then I get there and I'm like, these fucking people are nuts. They're like liberal as can be. I remember the first show I judged, these 2 kind of hot gals. I don't know what they were saying because I don't understand German. I thought they were going to kill each other. And later on, I was judging the showing, and later on, I asked my friend, Uncle, what happened? Is that like some kind of domestic thing? Or I thought maybe she caught her with her husband or something. She goes, oh, no. She said those puppies, they were in that little pen. And she walked by one time and saw poop in there. And then she walked around another time, and the puppies stepped on it before that woman could clean it up. And I said, what? She said, yeah, that wasn't cleaned up quick enough. And then there's all kinds of weird shit. Like there's all kinds of regulations in Germany. Yeah. Your dog barks 3 times, you're in trouble. And your neighbor will tell him. Your neighbor will tell him. And if you don't have the right kind of partition for your dogs. Now I've heard that a crate is against the law. It's against the law for you to go to work and leave your dog in a crate. I mean, they don't walk around and look in everybody's house, I'm sure. But if your neighbor sees it, they're going to tell on you.
Yeah.
Because they're like, my friend was I did a temperament test for them, and she goes, I was kind of casual about it. Yeah, we'll do this, we'll do that. And she goes, oh, no, Vito. We must be exact. Germans want rules. If they don't have the rules clear cut, they go crazy. Mm-hmm. I did this temperament test for them, and everybody was okay. But at first, I was like too chill. I wasn't as strict about it. So yeah, nowadays, and I hear at these trials, they put a timer. When your dog's in a crate, they put a timer. It can only be in there for so much time. Then you got to get it out and walk it.
How do you guys feel about the overseas dogs versus here in America when it comes to, let's say, performance dogs, and the reality of it being that if you really want a top tier working dog, you're better off going overseas than getting it here in America. How do you guys feel about that?
I think you have to really be deep in dog culture to find those type dogs. Okay. You're speaking on, and you got to be honest about it. It ain't a lot of people doing it on that level. And then sometimes when you get into some of these working dogs, there's real hard dogs. People couldn't handle them anyway, you know. So True. I think that as far as America, when we talk about the dogs ain't what they used to be or what, or we wore them down. It's just going to be that way. And you have to find people who are, if you want that product, you got to look for people who's doing the actual thing with the product you're looking for, you know what I mean? True. But we do have a lot of different avenues for dogs as well, like a reading dog. I didn't know they had, somebody told me, Miss Lori Berg told me, yeah, they got dogs that, sit with children and the child reads to the dog kind of, and there's some kind of like emotional support service dogs. We got, what are these hunters using? Tracking dogs. We got a lot of little avenues. If you really getting deep in dogs, you can do some different things with dogs. I know somebody who got a dog trained to hunt morel mushrooms. You know what I mean? I just say do something with your dog. That is just so avenues. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can't really say because I don't really know that much about that world of importing working dogs. I'm sure if there's a way for you to get ripped off, you can get ripped off too. For sure. I know people pay a lot of money for these dogs, and I guess I'm cheap, or I guess I just, even if I had the money to buy a dog for top dollar, I'm more into producing that dog, Yeah. I don't have buying something a dog isn't really, I mean, if I could buy a great one, I'd love, I always like a good dog, but I always want to be the guy that produced the dog that somebody wanted to buy because he was great.
Right. So like for me, like I see dogs as like car parts. So for example, if like AK, for example, his owner was in the United Kingdom. And if I personally wasn't on social media scrolling and I was able to see, AK's father and AK's mother, and then come to find out it's overseas, to get that dog, I wouldn't have owned an AK dog if I didn't go overseas and spend the money. Now, of course, you have to trust the breeder. But everything's a risk when you're dealing with these dogs. A lot of people lie about these dogs on the paperwork, like we talked about. So I could get the dog, but that doesn't mean it was bred the right way. But long story short, with that, it's like I had to take a risk, and I did, and I got a dog that is a freak. Only dog of that lineage here in the United States. I had to go overseas to get him. My Malinois comes from Kosovo. My Kangal comes from Serbia. So, and you know what I mean. So it's like, depending on how you want to cook your dogs up in the future, That's how I see it when buying dogs. Now, depending on what you're trying to buy, I want to buy somebody's hard work, me personally, because that saves me time.
Oh, hell yeah, for sure.
You know?
You're going to the best. You're going to the top. You know
so
what I mean?
so if I get the best dog part and it saves me some time in my lab and you want 15 grand for it, I do my research. You know, I talk to you, get to know what I'm gonna definitely dig into your mind. I want to know, does he know what he's talking about? Does he know what I want? You know, and then from there,
you get on their nerves, coach. You got to do it so much so that you'll get on their nerves when you're going over the water. You know what I mean? Like,
if you're spending the money, you should have the right to, and I don't care. I have the right to if I'm spending the money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because again, I'm buying future genetics. And if you fine tune the genetics that I need, and I really want it that bad, and you say, "Hey, this is 15,000," I'm going to spend it, me, because now I got a part that some other dog man probably wouldn't have spent. Now I'm ahead of them in my program because I got the shit. You know, you might be trying to make it, but how long is it going to take you to make it? You know, I'd rather get the part and then already be there. And then I can add it to my stuff and then be already 10 steps ahead of the person who's like, okay, I'm going to try to build this part. Well, there's so many dogs out there. There's a lot of top tier dog men. You just got to find them. There's a lot of top tier programs out there. You got to do your research. And that's one thing that I've done in my whole process of doing dogs and my time of doing dogs is I've done the research and I've studied and I've looked and hunted dogs. And then when I found it, I spent the money on it. Now, most of the time that I spent most of the time when I bought dogs, I mean, shit, probably half of them was decent. The other half was trash. Maybe 3% was great. That's the luck of the draw when it comes to buying these dogs, because we don't know as breeders if this dog's going to be a producer. You buy a puppy, that doesn't tell you that just because the parents is a great producer doesn't mean that puppy's going to be a great producer.
That's breeding. Yeah, that's breeding. Tell them, coach. Yeah.
So that's stuff that you got to risk. You know what I mean? That's just a part of the process. But I personally, I look for top tier genetics that I can come in and take a shortcut by taking your hard work and adding it to mine. That's what I look for. And I've come to find that that's overseas. You know, like the next couple of dogs I'm going to get is going to be overseas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if I look back at all my breedings, my success, long-term success, always comes from being able to find that dog that's, I think, is exceptional, has exceptional things to it. And then when I breed it, I observe that it throws those things. That's when I start inbreeding or line breeding on it. I started with this female Broadzilla. I can't say she was the best producer, but she had crazy tight hips. She had that really tight skin, the muscle, pretty good structure, pretty good temperament. And then I produced her grandson from an inbred son of hers, bred to her half sister's daughter. And his name was Go Ballistic. I never looked at him and thought, you're the ultimate dog, you're the best American Bulldog. He wasn't. He had good points to him. He had those super tight hips, he had the muscle. But every time I bred him, and I bred him to some females that were like, should I even do this? Big, tall, ugly Johnson females. He dominate every puppy from the shittiest one to the best was pretty good dog. Yes. Way better than him. Yep. And that's when I started inbreeding on him, and that produced my dog BMJ. And that was the power of my blood, from those dogs. But that's the thing. You got to know shit from Shinola. Yep. Some people, they get shit and they inbreed or line breed on shit. You're not going to get anywhere on that.
Right.
Yes.
Do you have a lot of half brother, half sisters off of AK now?
Yes, I do. I have, like I said, but then like I said, Vito, I scrapped my whole shit. Like I started making pit bulls, and I made a band dog out of him too. I made a band dog. I called it AK-74 band dog. Yeah, I have his offspring. But you said, hold on, did you ask me, do I have half brother, half sisters off of AK, like his own half brothers, half sisters you talking about, or his brothers?
Like his kids.
His productions, yes.
Kids from different bitches, yeah.
Yes. So I bred him to 4 different bitches. Yeah, and AK is a very prepotent dog. Like he produces himself in everything that he does. But like I said, I'm moving in a whole different direction now. I'm going straight hybrids with AK. Like I said, I'm gonna do AK Malinois, AK Dutch Shepherd, AK German Shepherd, AK Kangal. That's how I'm rocking now. You know what I mean? Hybrids.
Right. Well, fellas, it's getting a little late. We could do this again.
Yeah, it's great.
I got a special request. I would love to see Vito chop it up over there on the Formula One K9 show.
Oh, it's all love. Come on, man. Vito would love it. We'd love to have Vito over there.
Anytime.
I've been liking what you've been doing with the you've been reconstructing breeds.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like
reverse engineering.
Reverse engineering, yeah. So I think that's a cool idea. And Coach, you done come a long way with your show. I seen you incorporate a lot of new things. I said, okay, he finna be a problem.
Yeah. Slowly but surely they catching on, you know what I mean? But I always tell my brothers, my content is only for the few. You got to be a dog nerd to really be in tune with me. If you're not a dog nerd, what I talk about is over your head, and you might get offended. You know what I'm saying? And it is what it is. If you get offended, I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? I'm here strictly for the dogs, and I'm very good at what I do. And if you are an artist and you really into your craft, you'll respect it. You'll respect it, you know. But if you're not, if you like, you know, you're a sheep and you want to follow what everybody else is doing, you can't see beyond the forest from the trees, and you're not going to receive me. And I'm okay with that.
What Formula One K9 in 5 years, what are we doing? Where are we going to be?
I'm in the military. My dogs will be in the military in 5 years. Gotcha. Facts.
Yeah.
Facts. That's
Vito,
where I'm going.
Vito, my question for you, since you done joined in the Brazilian Bull game, where you see yourself in 5 years in this breed? I know they're glad to have you.
In the Brazilian dogs, I'm too old to start a big breeding program. I just want to produce freaks. I just love the temperaments. They're for like an everyday family type dog, and I just want a creature. I want a dog that walks in and people are like, whoa, what the hell? I mean, they're already like that. There's already tons and tons of just freaky looking. I mean, it's a novelty breed, but it's just a monster. Well, in Brazil, they call them pit monsters. Mm-hmm. Originally, before I joined Samba, I was going to call my kennel Love Monsters because they look like monsters, but they're like the most lovable, sweet, kid dog, good with everybody. They just don't, fighting and stuff like that's not the first thing they go to. Mm-hmm. So I just want to produce a monster freak.
Hey, Vito, guess what? Now that you with Aria in the Brazilian Bull movement, you can get back in your lab, man. You can get back in your bag as an engineer. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You can use your creativity with stuff and really create that freak, you know?
That's what I was telling Aria. I said, I just want to be the back mechanic shop. You be the showroom floor, and I'm the mad scientist. It's funny because I said, I'll be Samba Kennels Black Ops.
Nice.
And, she didn't understand what that was. She's like, what? I don't think that sounds good.
Hey, you want to say, like I'm the Skunk Works, the Lockheed Martin, the Boeing.
That was one of the names I came up with. Skunk Works, Special Ops, Special Operation. But I'm gonna try. Right now they allow F1s, but I don't know. I don't have much confidence how in the United States what they're gonna do. But in Brazil, you can do it as long as you use American Bulldog or XL American Bully or XL Pitbull. Now I'm going to try one maybe with one of my females because I know the genetics behind my dogs, so I know they're really clean. And it's not about crossing, half and half. It's when I go back into this stuff. And that's what I try to tell. Some people are like, they need to close the stud books now. I'm like, oh my God. They need to keep them open. They need to keep it competition.
Yes.
Whoever produces that monster is who's going to get bred to. Whoever produces a wet noodle is not going to get bred to. And let competition fly.
There it is.
Don't fuck with it. Don't be all this stupid shit where we don't allow this, we don't allow that. Hey, learn from the Brazilians. I mean, action speaks louder than words.
Yeah, and they're winning right now. You guys are winning right now, and the Brazilian Bulldog is winning right now. So keep it up.
That's what's up.
Aria's brought in some really crazy freaking dogs. She just got this male called Mandibula. Man, he's awesome. He's like the poster child of the breed, and he's got these cheek muscles that are like crazy in his skull, and it looks like double muscle on his head.
Nice.
Yeah.
I tell you, if I produce, I have a litter coming up. I think the bitch just got bred. I think I didn't see him breed, but she's in heat. If I get a little Cracker Jack, I'll send you one. You can try a Braveheart Performance Bulldog.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
AK.
There we go. No, salute. I appreciate you, Vito.
All right, guys. Well, I want to thank both of you gentlemen for coming back and having this great conversation. I want to thank everybody for especially using my platform or participating in my platform to have some of the most epic conversations of all time down on this channel. So, man, hey, all love to everybody. Y'all stay safe.
Yeah, thank you, Joe.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Coach. And ride out to that Coach song.
There we go. Bump that shit.
I don't breed, I design systems. Every parent got attention with them. Structure first, that's non-negotiable. Weak frame make the rest disposable.
Step into the realm of canine wisdom with our podcast, NWA Connie Corso, where we interview dog men and women from around the globe. Discover their talents and insights on breeding, training, nutrition, and the rich history of dogs. Tune in to the most underrated yet influential dog podcast on social media. Your journey to the dog world starts here.